What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
What is up? We back. I'm Nick.
And we are the Brothers Murph.
We are the Brothers Murph.
We're going 3D, man.
We are going 3D.
We're doing some 3D gaming.
Yeah, doing some 3D game. We're going to jump right into this one. We are super excited because we're going to be making something for one of our favorite games, Dinosaur Island. We found online these super awesome 3D paddocks.
Yes.
And we were like, yep, doing those because the paddocks look like this. They're just tiles and they just have like 2 and 3 and then 4.
Super functional, super like good looking. The aesthetics are good, but like they're just so flat.
You could do better. And I love this because it's just like, this is something I would have never thought about on my own. So when we saw it, we were like, yeah, doing that.
It's like, I want to feel that the dinosaurs are really safe and fenced in. So let's get some 3D fences for these things.
Indeed, let's do it. So we're going to go through the process of finding it, printing them, all that kind of stuff. Let's do it.
Let's get 3D with 3D gaming.
Okay, so let's go ahead and open up Thingiverse, which I have open here. And then these are the paddocks for Dinosaur Island. They are insanely cool. Give some love to C. Callow right here. I mean, absolutely crushed it. Again, this is something that I just never would have thought of. So you can see these are the 3D paddocks right here. They have fences and you can adjust the fences based off of what your paddock size is. So you can see right here, they have the 3D fences and you put the little dinosaurs in there. And they're designed like this, where if you have a paddock size of 1, you always keep this fence where it is, but then this fence here would start here in the 1 and you have 1 spot for 1 dinosaur. But once you upgrade your paddock, you just move the fence to 2. And now you have 2 spots and then move to 3 and then 4. And this is such a cool way of doing this, where then you don't need to have multiple tiles that take up a ton of space that ultimately just have a different picture on them. This is so cool, so awesome. C. Callow crushed it. I mean, absolutely crushed it. And these paddocks will be in the description below. Again, go give C. Callow some love. Just so cool, so cool. So we went ahead and downloaded these, and let's go ahead and print one out and see how it looks. All right, so we got our printed paddock right here. We got one right here, little test one. And they are awesome. They're super, super cool. It's kind of hard to see in the camera, but the indented numbers are like super awesome. And they're just cool. We have our fences right here. So now we have a bit of a problem with them. It's not so much, I don't think it's necessarily the designer's fault. I'm not sure if it's just our printer or what, because I haven't seen anyone else complain about this in the comments, but we have a very, very hard time getting the fences to click onto the outside here. It very much seems like they're supposed to, but ours just don't. And then they kind of like flop over and they still hold up. Like they still technically hold things in place. And like you could put your little dinosaurs in there and it'd probably be fine. But it's just, they won't stay for whatever reason. And I don't know if that's just us or it's the way we're printing them or what. But nonetheless, we're having a hard time. So we actually decided to modify these. We kind of tinkered around with them ourselves. And what we came up with was this. Now you're like, that doesn't look any different. And you're right, it's pretty much exactly the same. The main difference is that the base here is much, much thicker. We actually added 1.5 millimeters onto the base here and then made the fence's little hook part right here match that at 1.5 millimeters so that they can click on a little better. I'm gonna show you down on the table and you'll be able to see the difference a little more clearly. So here we have the original base and the original fences. And then if you see here, we have ours. So now you can kind of see the difference in the thickness of the base. It is quite a bit thicker on our end here. Again, we made them 1.5 millimeters more thick so that these could snap on. Because again, these, we can't seem to get them to snap on and they kind of just look like that. Now that means we also needed to increase the notch here on the fences. So these are the new fences and these ones here are the old ones. And you can see the difference. You can see the difference in that little notch. And so now you can see with the new ones we made, they pop in here and they have a tendency to stay a little bit better. They're not perfect and sometimes they can just like pop off, but now they stay on there. They seem to stay on there. And then again, if you want to increase your paddock size, go over here to 2, go over here to 3, and like that. And this was actually really, really easy to do. So that's a little modification that we did, and it seems to be working a little bit better, at least for us. And so you might be asking like, well, how did you do that? How'd you modify it? Well, I'll take you over the computer and I'll show you right now. So how we went about doing this, you can see I already did some of them right here. So let's take the fence here. So this looks like the normal fence, but we've actually added 1.5 millimeters to this length here. 1.5 millimeters just seemed to make sense, and so we did that. So it looks fine right now, but that's because this is done. But if we select this and then go up here to group, we have group and then ungroup. We click ungroup, you can actually see what I did. So the pink here is the normal paddock. I'm not sure how long this is, but it's not too long. So what we do is we added a box here that's 1.5 millimeters tall and then 5.9 millimeters long. And then what we did is we added these boxes. Now these boxes, what they do is they cut away stuff in the project. So if I put a box right here and then you group everything together like this, it cuts away whatever is there. But we don't need to cut away that much. So that's what these boxes are here for. They're just to make sure I have a nice right angle right here because it was kind of hard to do. So we added that. So once I added those, pretty simple. Go ahead, group the whole thing together. The box cuts out everything and it looks great. And then this one is ready to go. Now, if we do something like the water paddock here, again, I've already done, you can see the seam line right there. I've already added the bit to the bottom here. Now this one was a little more difficult because you can see the whole thing is curved because it has this dome. So if we go ahead and ungroup the whole thing, you can see what I did. Again, I punched out the little part here, but then we had to create these curved dome type things to cut out this part of the box right there. So that was a little harder, but nonetheless, we figured out how to do it, group back all together, and then we are good to go with the water paddock fence. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the one for the base. This is the water base. I have not added the bottom part to it because this one is much more simple than the fences, so we're going to do it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab over here, we're going to grab a box. These are all the different tools. You can grab spheres or, cones or whatever. I'm going to grab a box. So we need to know what the dimensions of this are. So we just click on it and click on one of the corners, and we know that it's 25 by 61. So I'm going to go to our box. I'm going to make it 25 by 61 millimeters. And now it is the same size in terms of this surface area as this. And now we know we need to make it 1.5 millimeters tall because that is how much we added to the fences. So now this is the same as this in size. It is just 1.5 millimeters thick. So what we're going to do is get it lined up as well as we can. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to take this little tongle right here and we are going to lift this up off the bed 1.5 millimeters. You can see right there, you see how it's floating like that? So now what we can do is we can go ahead and just slide this underneath it. And we can zoom in all sorts of, oh my gosh, what's happening? We're going to zoom in, make sure that we are aligned. On the side, boom, looks like we are good right there. And then we need to make sure we're aligned this way. So let's go ahead and swing on this way. Let's go like that. And then I think at that point we are aligned and good. So we're all lined up. And now this is 1.5 millimeters thicker. All we have to do is then select the whole thing, click group, and boom, now it's all one thing. Go up here to export it out, and then you're good to go. And now our fences here will fit onto this no problem.
All right, so we've printed out a couple of the bases for the paddocks, and they came out really super solid. Like, they just look really neat. I don't know if you can check that out, but the numbers are actually etched in there, so you can see 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can also tell by how many dinosaurs are in there. But we were kind of looking, and we realized that it's difficult to see the numbers at a glance. And it's like fine like this because you can kind of get a sense of it. But we were wondering if we might be able to, say we're going to make the water paddocks, they're going to be mostly blue. If we could make the bottom here blue up to the point that the numbers do that first flat point and then switch filaments midway, which is possible, to like a black, so then you'll have a blue number with a black outline to really make the numbers stand out and then give a kind of a cool two-tone look. So again, you can switch filaments mid-print. Nick's going to show you how you do that in Cura and then the process of switching out filaments. Check it out.
So let's go ahead and do this two-tone thing. So we have our new stuff that we've made. We have our paddock base thick and our paddock fence thick, and then all our old ones and the water ones here. Now I named them thick with 3 C's like this, one to differentiate them from the old ones, and also because I'm a child. So we're going to put the base into Cura here, which is behind here. We don't need to do the fences because the fences will be all one color. So here I have the normal base. So what we want to do is we want to make sure these numbers here are a different color than the top of the paddock here. In this case, we're going to be doing small carnivores, and small carnivores are going to be yellow. So what we want is we want the yellow to stop printing once it gets to the flat part of the numbers here. But we want, when it starts on the edges and everything above that, to then be black. So the colors are yellow, but then everything on top of it is black. So it's pretty easy to do that. We just have to then put in a pause into the printer's G code. And what that will do, it will cause the printer to pause at a very specific point and then park itself so that we can change the color of the filament out, in this case from yellow to black. So the first thing we need to do that is we need to figure out when exactly we need to change the color. So this is it fully done, and this is the thing where you can see the whole thing being printed. And what we want to do is we want to find the spot where everything is flat and before it starts building everything on the top layers. So in this case, that is going to be layer 13. 13 right here is where everything is flat. If we go to 12, we can see we're still doing the infill. So we have the first layer of everything in the very base part being flat. So we want the printer to stop printing yellow here, and then it's going to start printing black on every layer after this. So again, the yellow part is here, but then everything above it there is black. So now that we know that we need the printer to stop on layer 13, we can go up here to Extensions, Post-Processing, and Modify G-Code and click on that. And then this little screen will pop up. And we're going to put in a new script. So this is a new line of code that tells the printer to pause, essentially. So what we're going to do is go down to pause at height. There's a couple other pause at heights. I'm not entirely sure what they do, honestly, but I know that this is the one we need and this is the one that works. So we're going to do just normal pause at height, and it'll ask you here, what height do you want it to pause at? Now you can see they're all in millimeters. So this is at a very specific measurement of height. We don't want that though. We want at a specific layer number. So we are going to then put in, we want it to pause after layer 13. And then we have park print head X and Y axis. It's essentially where you want it to park. I always just put 220 because I just want to make sure it's far away from the print itself. And then we have retraction. This is how much filament you want it to pull back into the nozzle. And you do that just so the filament isn't oozing out of the nozzle. So we're gonna put 8 millimeters, retraction speed, 25 millimeters a second. That's totally fine. Then we have extrude amount. What extrude amount is once you've switched out the filament, you want it to extrude a certain amount of filament out of the nozzle. And what this does essentially is just make sure that all the old color is out of the nozzle and only the new color will now be printed. So we're gonna go ahead and put 15 millimeters. That's probably more than we need, but I just like to be doubly safe. So this is how much is going to come out once we've switched out the color. Extrude speed, 33 millimeters a second is totally fine. Then we come down to this, which is redo layers. So you can have it redo a couple layers if you want it to. I always just put 1. So you want it to redo one of the layers. Now this is something that I messed up. This does not mean redo a specific layer. So at first time I did this, I put 13 because I was like, oh, redo layer 13. But what this actually says is redo 13 layers, which is the entire project. So it started over again and messed up everything. So we're doing 1 layer. And the last thing here is standby temperature. Standby temperature is when it goes and parks itself at the X and Y axis. Do you want it to stay hot? Do you want it to cool down? And this to me depends on whether or not you're gonna be around when it pauses. If you're gonna be out at work or something like that, and it's gonna pause in the middle of the time you're at work, put it at 0 because you just don't want it sitting hot the whole time. You're just wasting energy for no reason. But in this case, I'm gonna be here when it stops. So I'm gonna put it at 195 degrees Celsius because when you change the filament out, you need the nozzle to be hot. So I'll be here checking on it every 10 minutes. So once it pauses, I'll be able to get to it very quickly. And that's all you do. You go ahead and press close and now it'll pause at layer 13. It'll do all these things. And then that will give us time to then switch out the filament at layer 13 here and then start printing black above it. So we're gonna go ahead and press save to file, export it, get in the printer, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so things are going good. We are almost to that point now. We're gonna put on that last layer, which is when the printer is going to pause, and we're gonna put on that last layer. All right, so the whole thing is paused right when it was supposed to. We're done with layer 13. It looks good, looks great, and then the gantry itself park itself over here exactly how we wanted to. So now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch out the yellow for black, and then we're gonna start it up again. Now I'm not gonna show you how to switch filament out. If you want us to put that in a video, put it down in the comments below so that we know, but there's already been a lot of stuff we've gone over in this video, and so we don't wanna add one more thing. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, so now it is in there, and we should see it extrude out that 15 millimeters. And then once it does that, I am going to clip it off and it should continue to go. All right, see, there it goes. It's getting all the yellow out, another black, and then boom, I take it out. And then it should start printing the black. All right, so now it's laying down the black in the first layer. And so what I always do also is try and make sure the bed is re-leveled. Sometimes I accidentally push down on the gantry when I'm changing out the filament. And so I usually go through and lower the bed a little bit because it just seems to work better. But alrighty, so successful transfer. Let's keep going. Alrighty, so here they are. They are finished on the bed here. They look pretty darn good. So let's see if we can pry one of these off. We can take a better look at it. Alrighty, so there we go. So that's that two-tone. We got yellow on the bottom, and then we got the numbers are nice and yellow like that, so you can see. And then we got black on top. All right, those look great. Now we just got to do the fences and then all the other ones, and we're good.
Okay, so Nick did a really good job with printing out these bases with kind of and the fences with the two-tone look. So I want you to come down here and see what giving a little bit of color on that base can really do to help make those numbers pop. Like this, like to me, is just rad. Like it's just the bottom here is now that same color as the fences, and then you top it off with the darker color, and it just makes it so the numbers really stand out. It gives a cool two-tone look with the fences versus the black base, and just everything kind of rips. So if you look here, kind of like what we first started with to this, you know, it just gives a bit more splash to it. Even just making the fences a different color, I think really goes a long way. Something to make it kind of a more dynamic look. And just for reference, these are the old tile paddocks and stuff, and we've replaced them with this nice 3D thing where you can just adjust the same fence to a 2, a 3, a 4, or whatever you need, rather than having to buy and flip and get new tiles and all that jazz. So you can actually lower the footprint in the box, and it looks way rad.
Woo!
Dang.
Alrighty.
So 3D.
That is it. So I love them. I love them so much. They're so cool.
Yeah, so I mean, like, Nick, with the work you did to kind of modify these, really gives it the stability you want. So these are actually, like, really fun, really exciting, and aren't, like, terribly fiddly or anything.
No,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
when you do something like this, you make them fiddly, like, it takes away the... Like, everything you do, from at least in my opinion, has to be, like, decently functional, because if not, it's just you're never going to use it because it's too much of a pain.
Yeah.
And
so,
these they're super fun to play with. They look great.
Yeah, you're only gonna have to grab a couple paddocks in a game and then just adjust them from, you know, there you go. Like, to me, it's actually easier, especially because in the game, say I have 3 dinosaurs, I have to upgrade to a size 4 paddock. I have to take all my little minis off, buy the new thing, swap out the tile, put it down, put my minis back on. Here, I'm just like, ready.
Boom. Done.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
cool. Being able to see the numbers is like awesome. Again, it's like it's a step you don't necessarily have to take, but it is super cool looking.
Like, yeah, feel free to just do it normally because it totally works. But like, it was
a lot of work. Yeah, it was super cool. Now I will say, like, this was more printing than we thought it was going to be. We printed and you also don't have to print as much as we did. We literally did it in the game, there are 9 marine creatures, so we printed 9 paddocks. We essentially printed enough where if every single dinosaur in the entire game got bought.
But somehow no one was able to satisfy the victory conditions.
Yes. Which would never happen. But let's just say it did happen. We technically have a paddock for every single one. You don't need to do that because it was, you're like, oh, it's easy to print all these. And it was for the most part, but it took a long time. It was probably like 30, 40 hours of printing total to do everything.
Yeah.
Because it's 31 paddocks bases, which means there's 62 fences.
And there's 4 different filament changes in there and stuff.
Yeah.
So again, the way we did it with the two-tone and doing all that and maxing out everything is really as hard as it could be, but it's still doable in a long weekend.
And would you say worth it?
I'd say it's worth it. I really like it. Like, if you have different color filaments, like, go ahead and do it. Like, the game is already insanely colorful. Why not go even further with your paddocks? You know what I mean? But if you just have, like, whatever filament laying around, just make a butt ton of paddocks, all one color, and then have them serve, you know, I don't know, make 15, 20 of them or whatever, and you'll be, like, set for every game you ever need to play.
Yeah, they're great. They're so cool.
If you want to go next level, go next level. Dinosaur Island is nothing if not next level with everything they do.
It's true.
Like, I didn't know you could upgrade components for that game, but you can.
So that is the 3D paddocks we made for Dinosaur Island. Down in the comments, please put in whatever you want us to make. People talk about inserts or other bling for games. If you know what it is and you know the file, please put the website in the comment so we can see. And all of this stuff is in the description, the files for these things. Please give the person who made them some love. Super, super cool. So what are we doing next, Mikey?
So next we're going to go back to peeling back the curtain on the process of 3D printing. Like in this one, we did filament changes and stuff, but there's so much that goes into. So a few things happened during the process of this. We full on broke our printer.
Yep.
Nick full on fixed it, learned how to solder stuff, and even swapped out our bed. We have a whole new bed system. So Nick's going to take you through a lot of those types of things. Maintenance, how to swap a bed if you want to swap a bed, and what happens when your printer completely craps out.
Yeah.
It's going to be really exciting.
So yeah, that should be it. It should be cool. So again, thank you so much. Please like and share this video. We're trying to make this series, let people see it because it's a cool thing, and
go viral.
We're pretty pumped about it. So yeah, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And I think that's going to be it, right?
That's going to be it for this episode of 3D Gaming, man.
All right, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I just want you to know that we have a Patreon and I'm hanging in here waiting for the next patron, so maybe you guys can help me out before I fall, because I don't have much strength, man. I might go down. Also, you can subscribe to us. I feel really unsafe. I think I'm gonna fall.
Mike.
Huh?
What are you doing? You're attached to a rope.
Well, but it still looks dangerous.
Like that rope can hold up a Camry. You can just let go,
Can I?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Are you sure? You want to see?
You shouldn't just, yeah, you're fine.
Oh.
You're fine. You shouldn't, abuse the Patreon thing like that,
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I need to be taken down a peg or two. Can you lower me?
Lower?
Sorry. You can still subscribe if you want.
Yeah,
You can upgrade your game experience with Game Toppers LLC if you want.
Yeah.
Or check out Restoration Games, but you know what? Don't do it for me and my fear-mongering tactics. Okay, well, you know what?
Hey, that was on you.
Did you see
That
that?
was on you.
Did you see that? That's on record.